So, of course, no, there is never an actual authentic list about who the 10 best wrestlers in the world are, because it's always going to depend on what you like from wrestling, what you want from wrestling. Sometimes your tum-tum just reaches out to a certain individual and you don't even know why, and you talk to your friend and like, but that guy absolutely sucks. However, because people do have this conversation all the time, I went out there and I went to look at polls and I went to look at the PWI and I talked to a bunch of people and we did some threads, or some polls I should say, on social media, and I sat down and I put all the numbers together and I equated it. And the funny part is, it's almost exactly as you would expect. But yes, based on my own personal litmus test, which will not be the litmus test, of course, just for the Simon Miller channel, here indeed are the 10 best wrestlers, or the 10 actual best wrestlers in the world right now, according to you. My opinions aren't going into this. Please subscribe. And number 10 did make me feel happy because it's Swerve Strickland, obviously at the moment doing his work in AEW. Now, some people like to pretend that nobody watches All Elite Wrestling, but it's not true. And especially given a test like this, you are getting into the hardcores of the hardcores. And usually when you do enter that side of the fandom, it's not just about how you feel about a certain guy. Somebody was having a conversation about this the other day. Somebody was mad that Dominic Mysterio, I think it was ESPN, said that Dominic Mysterio was the wrestler of the year. And somebody was like, no, he's not been in any main events. And listen, you are allowed to have that take when you do approach sports entertainment, but I disagree. I think if you want Dominic Mysterio to be your wrestler of the year because you love him so much, he's your wrestler of the year. When we did our top 10, my personal top 10 wrestlers of 2025, I put Solo Sikoa as number 10. We've done that for a few years now. I like to have the number 10 as more of a fun entry. Otherwise, I think those lists get boring, but it also does come from a very authentic place. Solo Sikoa, I don't think main evented one show in 2025. He won the US title, and a lot of the feuds we were in weren't actually that good. I think the Wyatt's family feud went on way too long. Actually, it's still going on now as I do talk to you, but he entertained me on so many occasions, including when he went and dabbed with a skeleton during Halloween. And sometimes that's what I want for my pro wrestling, and sometimes I want banger matches. So I understand why Swerve Strickland wouldn't be at number 10 here, because he has been one of the most consistent pieces of AEW ever since he joined. You go all the way back to his Keith Lee tag team, and people didn't really understand. Then he was losing a bunch of matches, but throughout of that, he did establish himself in All Elite Wrestling, and then because he was so damn good, and because he found himself as a character, he grew and grew and grew. Then he was winning world championships with Samoa Joe, having crazy matches with Hangman Adam Page. And I really do think he is a guy you could rely on now. I think he's almost like a Jon Moxley type. You're like, oh my gosh, we need to do something right now with somebody that we know is going to be able to pull it off. You would go to Swerve. I've told this story before, but it was just after he'd been released from WWE. He did a UK tour where he wrestled for Progress, and I saw him versus Cara Noir. And I only really knew him from what he had done at NXT or what he'd done in Hit Row, so I guess my knowledge was limited. But to see, he adapted like a chameleon. He looked at Cara, I think he knew Cara Noir, I'm sure he did, but he looked at his style and he understood what he needed to do in order to sort of explode that all over the place, which is not a euphemism, and that's when I realised how good Swerve is going to be. So it didn't surprise, and really none of the names that came up on this list did surprise me. I mean, there's a reason Swerve Strickland is always cited as somebody, oh, maybe one day he'll go back to WWE, and that's because deep down in our Tootsie Toes, whether you're an AEW crazy or WWE crazy, you know how good Swerve Strickland is, and we wait and see whether he does do that, but I like to think he'd be in AEW for a long old while, because he is an integral part of that makeup. He gets in at number 10, I get it. Number 9 was the same. We move over to WWE, and it's Becky Lynch. Now, this is quite funny because there is a contingent of people on the internet that do not like Becky Lynch for some reason. They call her Becky Hogan, which I don't understand. I don't even know where that comes from, because you go through a lot of her feuds and she's super giving and quite clearly always trying to get somebody else over. Maybe I've made a mistake. Towards the end of the year, it definitely fell off, but everything she did with Lyra Valkyria, I think, helped. I just think the WWE followed up as well as they could have done. And the Maxine Dupree stuff, maybe it was a little bit hit and miss, but at the end of the day, Maxine Dupree got a month run or whatever it was, not that long, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, with the Intercontinental title. If you had made that bold prediction start of 2025, a lot of people thought you were crazy. I also just think a lot of this is going to be recency bias, of course, but I think Becky Lynch right now as a heel is the best version of a villain she's ever played. The first time she did it was fun. She had some sort of good lines, but it was when the fans really still wanted to cheer her. We kind of turned her heel for the sake of turning her heel, whereas this time I think absolutely suited the character she was trying to play. I just think you can tell she's having a good time, and therefore I'm having a good time. And some people go, well, that's not a real heel, Simon. There are no real heels anymore. Even somebody like MJF, who I think is absolutely fantastic, and he talks about being a generational talent. I totally agree. I think he has that energy to him, which is a dumb thing to say. But we all know it's an act that he's putting on. I'm not saying that to disparage MJF. That's just the wrestling world we live in. I'm not taking that as a criticism. Oh, Becky Lynch can't be in this list because I don't hate her for real. Who do you hate for real in professional wrestling? Also, given that the wall has been torn down as much as it had, you probably probably shouldn't hate anybody that much in pro wrestling, but I think she was great in 2025. And as it turns out, she quite clearly still has a lot of fans out there, always ranked really highly in lists, be it from 2025 or other years, or overall wrestlers. There is the argument out there that she is the most successful women's wrestler ever in WWE. That's something to debate about in the comments. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't. I think she's probably my favorite, but Asuka would be a close second, and Rhea Ripley's getting in there too. I think one of the cool things about Becky Lynch being here is the WWE has completely revamped their women's division over the last 4 or 5 years. And right now, I think almost inarguably, it's better than it ever has been. I think it was Rob Van Dam that came out the other day, so he actually preferred the women's wrestling in WWE at the moment to the men's. And comparison is the thief of joy, but you never would have got that back in the day. And I think in many ways, Becky Lynch sort of led that charge. She's still pretty young. I don't even think she's 40 years old yet. So, I mean, she is getting into acting at the moment, but I don't think there's any sign that she have to stop anytime soon. But when she's done and you draw a line under it, surely has to go down as one of the best WWE females of all time. And break, we continue this on because it is Toni Storm, and that, did it massively surprise me? I don't think so. I thought Toni Storm would be in this, but then when you do actually start reading about her or talk to people, you realise that people just love this character. Like, they really, really love it. Like somebody said to me the other day, who do you think the main character of AEW is? You can go to Hangman, you can go to Moxley, there's Kenny Omega. But I think Toni Storm, especially over the last 18 months, has to be in that conversation. It was mad when she first started doing it, but she has embraced it to such a degree. You're going to go crazy when I say this, but I mean it to a certain extent. She is the real modern generation version of The Undertaker. I don't mean she's spooky wooky, but I mean about dedicating yourself to a gimmick and dedicating yourself to a persona. And I'm sure she does do interviews where she's not in that sort of mindset. But you rarely ever see it. So when you do see her on screen, I think you can suspend your disbelief perfectly to go, well, I totally believe that's what she's like in real life. Do you remember when she lost that gimmick for some reason? And she was doing those like office behind the scenes documentary bits. That was funny as well. I don't know what happened during her exit from WWE, but I think it was a blessing in disguise. And, you know, when she first joined AEW as the original Toni Storm, that was good too. But to reinvent yourself like this and to continue on to such a degree that you're still massively over, you can still be the world champion tomorrow, nobody would care. And she arguably had one of the best feuds in AEW in 2025. Is that when the Mariah May feud ended? It must have been. My brain is getting confused. But to tick all of those boxes, it's not a massive surprise that she would come in at number 8. And I think that it's earned. I really, really do. I don't think it's somebody that anybody got behind. Because sometimes you get characters, character's the wrong word, but sometimes you get people who quite clearly they've been put at a certain level. You know, we're going to push this person and make sure they land in a certain way. Given where the AEW women's division was when she started doing this, I would argue she was one of the catalysts to make sure it did get to where it is to today. So yeah, totally get it. She is brilliant, and she can ride this out for another 15 years if she wants. And she said, I think she never wants to go back to WWE, and I don't really mind where wrestlers go. I think they need to follow their hearts. But it is one of those gimmicks that if it did pop on somebody else, everybody would go crazy because that's how much they like it. Number 7, arguably another controversial one. He is the current world heavyweight champion, Mr. CM Punk. I can't say you either love him or you hate him because I think you can be in the middle. I think sometimes I'm in the middle. I definitely lean more towards, I think he's brilliant, CM Punk, and I think he proved that again during his Bron Breakker match, which was far more divisive than I thought it was going to be. It felt like it had to be a big fight to me. It felt like you wanted to act like, oh my God, CM Punk's going to lose that championship, while also ensuring Bron Breakker felt like a threat afterwards. I think he ticked all those boxes. I think a lot of the conversation about a mistaken Hurricane Rana, or Frankensteiner, I should say, took away from the goodness of this, and I think he totally earned the position that he's in. Somebody was like, oh, he's only there because he's CM Punk. It's like, yes, this is based on 20 years of work. And let's not forget, he had a 10-year period, or an 8-year period, whatever it was, where he wasn't wrestling, so he may have loads more gas in the tank. I suppose it's just anytime you read any one of these lists and CM Punk's name is there, he gets in here, or people just vote about it and stuff, when you go through the comments, it's always people going, I can't believe you like CM Punk, and then somebody, I can't believe you don't like CM Punk. And I think that's why he's been so successful in wrestling, because he is able to get an opinion out of you, and he is not shy of giving the opinion back to you as well. He said the other day, he was talking about content creators such as me, I guess, not me specifically, but the content creation pool. And it was all like, I think it's too negative and people set their own expectations, then they get mad. That's certainly true for a portion of the internet, but I don't think we should use these blanket statements. I hope I'm not like that at all. I tried just to bring positivity to wrestling because I love wrestling. I think it's fun to talk about. And if we're going to do it in our real life, why can't we do it in our digital life as well? But yeah, Punk goes in at number 7, and nothing is going to change with CM Punk. Now that the the bloom is off the rose. That's not right. But when he first came back, there's electricity, and then eventually you become part of the furniture. It would happen to every single wrestler ever. So now he has kind of just sort of sunken back into his round 2 in WWE. It's just gone back to how it always was. And I suppose it is 50-50. Some people go all the way right, some people go all the way left. But he does get you talking, and he always gets massive reactions. And I think he has a very specific style of working, which makes him feel interesting. But of course, now you're going to be arguing about that in the comments too. Number 6, all the controversial people here, which goes to show sometimes it's just a vocal minority. Moné, she got in my top 10 wrestlers of 2025 as well. I think she was number 5 or 6. I can't remember. I move on so fast. I have no qualms with this whatsoever. I love the fact she went out there and won a bunch of independent titles because, again, I wrestle in my own life. So to think of someone of that star level is happy to do that. If people go, oh, she's just going there to win all the championships, think about the travel and think about the extra miles on your body, both from being in a plane or actually going in there to work and stuff. I've worked, not those companies, but similar companies. Some don't even have good rings, and you bump, you're like, oh my gosh, that absolutely sucked. So the fact that she loves wrestling to that degree and she's happy to do it, like, I don't think her becoming the Finnish world champion or whatever it was is going to make a difference how big of a star she is. I just think it was cool. I think her in-ring game is better than ever, and given that we are on the 9th of January, whatever it is, you know, the other day on Dynamite, what did she do? She came out after losing a TBS title, and Chris Statlander beat her up, and Harley Cameron beat her up, and Winter Nightingale beat her up. You could argue that maybe that was a bit much for the heel to get whooped by 3 baby faces, but of course she understands what she's doing. Of course she's going to win that world championship soon. She will hit rock bottom before realizing, that's the one belt I need to win, because every time I go for it and I'm not successful, that's when my career goes to crap. I like Mercedes Moné. I think now I'm happy to say that Mercedes Moné is better than Sasha Banks, which is the dumbest comparison in the world. But it's only because she took everything she learned in WWE, and now she's pasting it in AW. If she ever did go back to WWE, I think that'd be awesome as well. There's no tribalism here. One of the best female wrestlers in the world, and she does have massive popularity. And that's why she got at number 6, because people like her. Number 5 continues the rage, and look, this is a conversation that CM Punk brought up in that interview that we talked about as well. It's Jey Uso. Now, I agree with CM Punk here. Some people are like, Jey Uso sucks, I hate him. And you're allowed to think that, right? You're allowed to think he's not very good at his job. Of course, you're allowed your opinion. I just not understand it at all. I love all the yeeting. I think some of the best stuff in wrestling history is dumb. That's absolutely dumb. I mean, Steve Austin came out there and said, what, for 2 years? And we still say it today, which kind of sums it up. You do hear the reactions he's getting in the arena, and you will never be able to convince me. There is no argument you'll be able to sit down and say that I will agree with where, Jey Uso shouldn't have won the Royal Rumble. It's one of my favorite Royal Rumble victories ever, and I wouldn't say I was massively on the Jey Uso train there, although I was enjoying his work. Taking someone that you never thought was going to win and designing a whole let's try and get this guy in the main event play around it, WWE could and should do it more. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, sure, he's not the best wrestler ever in the ring, but he's still really good, and his tag team stuff is excellent. I don't understand where this comes from, especially because when he did the CM Punk Jey Uso match, which was the number 1 contender match, or was it the world title match? I can't remember. I think it was the world title match, after Seth Rollins got injured, and people thought, oh my gosh, he threw water on Jey Uso because he was blown up. That's not how CM Punk saw it. So I think people just have a bit of an agenda against Jey Uso, and they just decided that he shouldn't have been put in that position. Even if it hadn't have worked, and I would argue that it did, you have to try these things with brand new guys. Otherwise, wrestling is going to be so damn boring. And he's so over and he's so popular, people like him, he gets slap bang in the middle, number 5. And I totally get that, and I hope he continues to get pushed. If he is going to turn, you know what? Don't do the heel turn. Don't do the Jimmy Uso heel turn, unless Jimmy Uso's going to turn heel. Even that's too similar to what we did beforehand. Jey Uso's over. People love Jey Uso. Just make people happy, man. We could use more of it. Number 4 is Hangman Adam Page. I don't really think we need to talk about this one that muchly. I mean, he had a great 2025. One of the best wrestlers of the year. Had one of the best matches of the year against Jon Moxley at All In. He is the OG character, a lot of people would say, of AEW. He has just got better. He's just improved. He is, in many ways, a white-than-white babyface that will also stab you in the head with a fork. I love the fact he goes down to CMLL and he'll speak Mexican. I love the fact he'll talk about being vulnerable. I love the fact that he'll get drunk and be a sad guy. He's a very unique character. I know some people don't like that because, no, I just wanted to be a badass. But this goes back to what we've already talked about. You have to have nuance in wrestling with some dudes, otherwise it gets really boring. And the fact that Hangman Adam Page feels confident enough to lead into that, it's totally fine by me. I really do think now, I mean, he's not the world champion anymore. I think the fact that people got so surprised and so mad when Samoa Joe did beat him after the hook heel turn, that goes to sum it up, right? People are emotionally invested in Hangman and thought he should have got more, and thought it was a mistake that AEW took the title off him, although I would presume that he's probably going to go into an extended feud with MJF, so it's not that bad. But this makes sense. I think there's probably some people missing on this list because they've been injured or because they just don't feature a lot. Like Roman Reigns at the moment does get a bit out of sight, out of mind because you forget about him. John Cena spoke about that. I've retired. Nobody will care in 3 weeks. He was totally right. But I think Hangman right now would be in a list like this regardless. He's just got momentum. He just feels so important to the brand. And he comes up with these really interesting matches. And he's always approaching his character in an interesting way. I think if you like AEW, a huge reason is Hangman Adam Page. If I'm wrong, down there. Number 3 is probably based over the last 6 months, but I get it as well, and it's Gunther. I just think a lot of this did come from the more hardened fan, I suppose, that even though they're super mad about the John Cena finish, they understand what Gunther brings to the table as well. Now, you could say that Gunther is a very acquired taste. He's a bit old school, he's a bit slower, and he sort of more picks you apart, and he's quite more systematic than a flippy-dippy doodah wrestler. But again, you can go either way with that. Some people go, oh man, that guy doesn't sell. Some people look at Gunther and go, he's so boring, which I totally disagree with. I think if you can flip around the ring, you should flip around the ring because that's your strength. And if you can be like Gunther, flub me should be like Gunther. Talk about a less is more kind of a guy. And he's been able to put himself in these positions because he's not like anybody else, because he is a bit of a throwback. He didn't even want to join the USA version of WW. He's like, nah, I'm fine. I'll stay in Europe before he changed his mind. And having that kind of clarity in your brain, I think is super important, especially in the modern day of world wrestling. But also, he retired Goldberg, he retired Cena, probably going to retire Styles, probably going to at least have a match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and beat him too. It makes sense that he's this high up. He is so important to WWE. I actually think they could be doing a better job with him right now, post John Cena. More people... I think when you get the criticism, I really do think that's, we use the term again, a vocal minority. I think overall, especially if you are sort of into the serious side of grappling, you understand what Gunther brings to the table. And listen, this was again, list, talking to other people. I would say I should have divided it into categories. Maybe I'll do another video about that. But this one really did come from other people that are wrestlers. And you ask them, well, who do you like in wrestling right now? Almost every single one of them instantly, Gunther, 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 Gunther. And of course, a lot of these guys were European wrestlers, so I'm sure they see him as somewhat of a inspiration to live up to. Maybe I can follow that path, but that's only 1% of it, right? And the rest of it is because he's flipping good, and actually over the last year I think he's got better. Number 2 is going to make everybody cry, but I just think it makes sense. It's Jon Moxley, right? And I understand the start of 2025, we're in that mid-period. Everyone got a bit tired of the Death Riders, but hindsight is a powerful tool. And if we did do that in order to make the Hangman win All In feel special, well, then we achieved it. I just think Jon Moxley, whether you like his stuff or not, I think you have to respect the fact he loves professional wrestling. And sure, he loves the more gritty side of professional wrestling, and he's another guy that will bleed all the time and will stab you right in the eye. But let's go back to his match with Shelton Benjamin that he had about 24 hours ago as I am recording this. It was so good. We'd never seen Shelton Benjamin versus Moxley before. Benjamin kind of basically just threw him around before sort of Moxley caught him at the end. It was just a great professional wrestling match, no matter what you like. And I don't want to say it felt real, but it did feel a bit edgy. Not Adam Copeland, he's not around at the moment. And I think that's massively important because not everybody can pull that off. Because they're both veterans and because they both understand their characters, they know where the lines are, they know how much they should lean into it. I just think Jon Moxley is great. And he's always been great. Even when he was pitched as the lunatic fringe and a goofy guy in WWE, like when he dressed up as the Mountie, he still found a way to make it funny. The absolute lower than low crapness is when WWE turned him heel and he said terrible things about Roman Reigns, not his words. He was forced to say it. And all that stuff was sticking a needle in his ass because he wanted to get vaccinated. I mean, I don't know why germs. Why he made his heel character germs, I don't know. But where would it be? Like, where would AEW be without his arrival in 2019? We did all that awesome stuff with Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. So it doesn't surprise. I think a lot of people see Jon Moxley as the number one dude at AEW. So when you get to lists like this, of course he's right up there at number 2, because surprise, surprise, guess who's number 1? That's right, it's Cody Rhodes. For the exact same reason, so many people now, when they think of WWE, say that Cody Rhodes is the face of the company. Apart from that one guy that goes, no, it's Roman Reigns. I'm not saying they're not 1A and 1B. I am saying Cody Rhodes works more than Roman does at the moment. So it goes back to what I said. It's out of sight, out of mind. It's just how wrestling works. It has to work. Otherwise, you're going to get way too confused. But Cody Rhodes is the white meat babyface WWE has wanted for years. He's doing great work. He rarely has a bad match. He leans so hard into every single feud. He can cut a promo. And he has the legacy story. Even with everything connected to the Rhodes family and Dusty, he went out there, he did it his own way. He left WWE in 2016. It's been a decade since that happened. And he came back, and at WrestleMania 40, you saw a stadium of 62,000 people, desperate for that to happen. And of course, one day it will die off, and one day he'll turn heel. That's the same with everybody. Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena, you can name any kind of a name. But to sustain this for 2-3 years, probably more, whatever it's been, just goes to show WWE is the biggest company in the world right now. You can't argue argue that. Cody Rhodes is the quarterback. He wouldn't be saying that unless WWE saw him that way too. Even John Cena kind of gave him those honors on the way out. He is considered the best wrestler in the world right now, and best is subjective, of course. But when you take all the, buy rates, merchandise, and matches, and where you are on the card, everybody said Cody Rhodes. The people I spoke to, everyone's like, of course Cody's the guy. Another dude that people sort of get all riled up about, because like, oh my gosh, I want to do what Cody did. And no matter what gets thrown my way, I'm going to sort of revamp it and return and climb to the top or get there for the first time. You're probably going to be mad about it. But what I'll do is I'll do another video and I go through every single person I talk to. I have a sheet of paper over there that looks like I threw up on it. But that's not I agree with most of them, but that's not my list. That's the world's list. You want to get mad? Yell at the globe. Now, you're going to have your own list too, so please do drop it down there and try not to base it on your own sort of biases. Well, you can do, but that's more of a top 10 list. Just try and think who is the most important people in WW and AEW right now. I didn't include New Japan, I probably should, but that's just, I already had a bunch of conversations, a bunch of research. I didn't want to send it crazy, but I want to hear your thoughts. I truly do. Then please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click that notification bell, click the video on the screen to get my thoughts from Monday Night Raw. Otherwise, it is, what is it? GrillerMind.com/Simon. You just go to Simon to get 10% off. It's Patreon.com/SimonMiller316. Come and tell me I'm an idiot at SimonMiller316. Otherwise, it is TikTok, it's Cameo, it's Pro Wrestling Tees. All the support is massively appreciated, and I appreciate you. See you soon.